Hi, I'm Margaret Preston, president of Power Over Parkinsons, and I'm excited to be able to bring you the recorded version of our recent Parkinson's Burnout event, facilitated by Dr. Sarah Lageman, neuropsychologist at VCU Health. Please enjoy this event as we learn strategies to manage the disease, as well as getting back to the things we truly enjoy in life. Thank you to our industry partners, Medtronic, AbbVie, and Acorda Therapeutics, as well as Wells Fargo, for supporting this event. We're excited to deliver this recorded event, and we hope to see you live in person at the next one. Thank you so much.
Better find a balance so that they are enjoying things while managing their disease instead of the other way around. So some of the things we talked about that kind of make it where it can be that tendency to deal with Parkinson's every day is the symptoms fluctuate. Like, your day could be a good day or a bad day, but you have to constantly be kind of adjusting to that and making modifications. So that can be a big stressor. How many people feel like they have that issue with just how their day is going and what they planned or didn't plan to do? Yeah. Yeah. A lot more doctor appointments or physical therapy, speech therapy. When you maybe do an intensive course, it can be every day of the week, which is really intense, to do speech or PT. Have people done speech or PT for every day of the week or very frequently? And you have to really contribute that time to that. Hopefully you're spending more time doing exercise. Exercise is just the number one thing to be doing with Parkinson's to help you keep your mobility and health and cognitive health even. So a lot of people benefit from going to classes, but you feel it if you miss days or don't go. How many people are going to regular exercise programs or classes? That's great to see. Yeah. A lot of people tell me they can tell if it's good to go on vacation, but like if you don't do your usual, that you can really feel that change and need to get back to that. So certainly also with the change of symptoms, your med changes may need to happen. You may need different medications or a new symptom may arise. I think one of the things that's so challenging in Parkinson's is like you can just suddenly have a new symptom where you feel faint more often or you suddenly aren't sleeping well. And these things come and we try to treat them, but they also can lessen over time. But so those things can fluctuate back and forth in what you're dealing with. Have people had symptoms that have come and gone at times? Yeah, and it kind of, it throws your whole, then you've got to manage that crisis. So in a lot of ways, this is quite different than when we have a heart problem or we have something else where you take a pill and you see the doctor once a year and they tell you you're good to go. So at one point we did some educational seminars with a group here in town with multiple sclerosis. If you've known anyone with MS, that's another illness where the symptoms can kind of wax and wane, and it's a different level of stress dealing with that, not knowing when it's becoming worse, not knowing what to expect, and sort of having to cope with that adjustment all the time. I encourage people at the first time to talk about activities and different interests that they've kind of let go and maybe inadvertently. A lot of times we get diagnosed with Parkinson's around retirement age, so it can be a natural change for stopping working and trying to pick up new interests and activities. And then this could have hit, and that further changes things. If people want to share, that might be a good place to start with sharing. If you think of things you've let go of or stopped doing that you miss and want to kind of find some way to replace that. If it's not the same thing, something that fills that area for you. Are there things that people feel like they have let go or missed doing?
I used to play a lot of tennis, so now I play pickleball.
Okay, yeah.
With the grandkids.
Yeah.
Twins in the
Yeah, pickleball has really taken off. I've heard there's different places people play in town and different groups, so that's a great thing. It's easier. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like table tennis in a way.
If you play tennis, do the same kind of hand-eye.
So
So it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I read in Costco, like the rules of it, and I was like, this is way too many rules for me to remember. Like, we got to hit a ball maybe, and, the plays, I'm not sure I'm gonna have all the, sequencing.
You watch it on TV.
Yeah, oh, wow, okay. How many people have tried pickleball? Couple people, yeah. All right, so that's a great way, you were talking about something that you enjoyed one way, like tennis, a lot of people enjoy golf, but they may not be able to do it quite the way they did before. And they go from 18 holes to 9, or they change the format of how they do it, or find something related that they might enjoy. Can be a way. Do other people have things that they've had to stop, do, or kind of replace in a way?
I kind of like when the grandchildren come over, especially like the grandson, he wants to go outside and play. I'm having that off period time, it's more like, I can't run around the house like, you want me to do.
Mhm.
So it just sort of wears me down, and I'm tired, makes me edgy. And I feel like I'm gonna just sit down. If I don't sit down, I'm gonna get angry, so.
Right, you're kind of disappointed.
Yeah,
Do that.
I can't do it right.
Mhm.
Brady's tired.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's good to kind of realize where your symptoms are, when you might have to opt out of something. I mean, I remember I used to babysit a lot, but I would sit on the front stoop of this house. I babysat 2 boys. They're now having their first child, which is really fun to see, but I would make them run around the house and play taxi, and I would hand out like little flags, like a race. So, I mean, I'd just sit there and, eat snacks. But the parents were always like, they're exhausted when I come home. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, making them run around. So, and I think that's the thing we lose sight of, is that children in particular aren't as judgmental about things. So like, he probably doesn't leave thinking grandma wasn't interacted with me or didn't do whatever. He has no really sense of that. If you say, I have to sit here, but I want you to go do blah, 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 like, they'll enjoy that.
He's just recently noticed my hand when it's having one of those times, he goes, gosh, it sure is jiggling today. And I'm like, yeah, it sure is jiggling.
Yeah, today's a jiggly day,
Today's a
yeah,
jiggle day.
yeah. Mhm. But yeah, you can redirect them. Are there things people have had to change with what they do with their grandchildren, or different things like that?
Yes, I have 6 grandchildren,
Goodness,
and it's all out fun.
yeah,
4 out fun.
yeah,
And boisterous grandparents, boisterous, the,
understatement,
yeah,
uh-huh,
and when they did them, their mom has to be like, yeah, oh, grandma, like, yeah,
yeah, you have to be a little more careful.
yeah,
Yeah, uh-huh,
so I used to be boisterous too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, but children, grandparents are such a special role for children that I think no matter what your illness or ailment is, that's not what I remember about my grandparents at all, and they still enjoy all these things that we do together. Sometimes people have found, they moved or stopped, work usually takes so much of your time, but then when you retire, you can have this shift. A lot of people have moved or need to find a new social network. They had their work social life, but then that just stops. For some people, that's really easy. They're very social and have had that working well for them. And then for other people, that's quite a struggle. How many people feel like they had to make an effort to kind of make a social life after retirement? Yeah, and that's something really important to do, but there's just less formats for it, like joining exercise classes or different classes can help you kind of get into something that helps you meet like-minded people, but just doesn't happen as naturally as it did when you had children or you moved somewhere and, the schools and everything helped you connect with people. So I hear a lot in clinic about people kind of just having losses or letting go. It's like, I don't do that anymore. I don't do this anymore. And it's just continually what has they've let go of. And so I really encourage people to, instead of thinking of Parkinson's as just taking away from you, that you actually think of what other things you might want to get involved in. And so that it's not just this sense of loss, but actually what can you enjoy and what do you find maybe new to enjoy? So one thing we talked about last time was, trying some of the adult education courses and things. And I encourage people, part of your keeping your brain active is not, your brain likes novelty. So it's not just doing what you're familiar with, but trying something completely new or different that you don't know about. And giving yourself that opportunity to take something that you're not familiar with, or learning pickleball, and not knowing how to do it. How many people have tried something like that? This is a good time to talk about it because January kind of starts a new run of programs and things that people can try. I think people brought up the Glen Allen Art Center has classes, the Art Museum, Osher is the Lifelong Learning Institute. Have people been there? Have people had any experiences with classes?
That's going, I take them at lifelong learning down the south side. It's kind of like OSHA, but it's a branch out, I guess. But it's down in Chesterfield. And the only problem I have is that I used to take a lot of early morning classes. And I can't get there early in the morning now.
Yeah.
Because it takes a little longer and I got driving restrictions. So I gotta take a different route that takes me longer to get there. So in that respect, it's had some
What is it?
Where?
What's it called?
What is it called?
Lifelong Learning Institute of Chesterfield.
Lifelong Learning Institute. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones. The one I mentioned is through University of Richmond.
Right.
Has one, but I think that one is in different towns and organizations, so.
But they offer a lot of classes, adult classes, history, art, religion, computers. A lot. I mean, if you want some more information, I'll see. I'm on the board there, so I know a lot of people. We have about 1,200 members.
Yeah, and sometimes I hear of people getting, they don't have to pay tuition at certain
Right.
community colleges or different opportunities, so it's good to check out those. And, in our adult lives, I think we get set at what we're good at and we keep doing our work and our career, but I encourage people to try something they've never done before, painting, learning about Egyptology, whatever it is. Like, you're not trying to do this to perfection or to mastery. We're just trying things to keep ourselves engaged. So. Yeah. Then we talked also about just getting more activities and interests that we maybe didn't have before, but then engaging in new things. How many people have tried something new since they got Parkinson's and developed that? What do people feel like sharing?
I started a memoir writing class.
Okay. Yeah. How's that going?
They just finished this semester. I signed also for the spring semester. And actually, writing is kind of therapy.
Oh, yeah, it can be very therapeutic. Yeah.
I think it will prevent depression. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, because whatever you think, whatever you're experiencing, you can just put it down. Yeah, I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, I know. I have another person I work with who, their daughter gave them some kit that's like a format of how to tell your story. And you do sessions and either interview the parent or whatever, and it helps you build this story. I think some storyteller kit type of thing. But they're working on that and find that very interesting. So. Yeah. Did somebody else mention something? Yeah.
I did the senior citizen law for police academy, and then they have the senior law enforcement together program. So I've been involved with that.
And do you then do something in the community with it, or?
Yeah, that's the idea, planning activities, what the needs are.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great kind of volunteer type, activity. And your communities may have things like that you could get involved in certain communities, community events or activities. Yeah, so trying new things. Did anybody else over here have their hand up?
I did volunteering with, hospice, and I'm gonna start doing, adult literacy, tutoring.
I did adult literacy back in college and I found it so interesting. And you can so much change someone's life, you know,
Yeah.
with helping them read better. And you were a nurse, right? So
Yeah,
that's, the hospice is kind of a natural.
yeah, none of my patient actually has Parkinson's.
Oh, wow, okay. And what were you gonna say?
Oh, I joined a garden club. I do arrangements, which is kind of interesting sometimes, but, I just have to kind of be in a good place where I can arrange.
Uh-huh,
I just take my time.
yeah. Yeah, I know another woman, volunteers with the art museum doing these, arrangements there, which are quite high-end, big ones, you know, those ones are like spectacular, but anyways, yeah. Yeah. These are all great ideas, and I encourage people to try some new things that maybe they didn't think they were necessarily good at or thought of for themselves, but just to be open to trying those things. Yeah. We also talked about really planning things you look forward to every week, every few months, every month, or every few months. You know, like kind of looking out at your schedule. You don't want to be just reacting to, I have another problem and I have to go to see this doctor for that and whatnot, but actually having positive things that you look forward to, whether that's social friend type visits, you know, Zoom calls with family that are far away or whatever. But then like something you might not do as often. I just had a patient I worked with, they went to a comedy club with her sister. She said she laughed so hard, her cheeks were hurting. So I thought that's a really good problem to have, right? But you know, picking out like a show or an event or something that you're gonna look forward to and plan to go to see that. How many people are going to something for the holidays? You know, the holidays are a big time for having more of that going on.
There's the Christmas Carol musical. It's free tonight, tomorrow night. I think it's Saturday afternoon at the Mount Vernon Baptist Church, which is on Knuckles Road.
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, something to get you in the spirit. There'll be a lot of concerts and things like that, yeah. Did anybody go down to the symphony for any of the Nutcracker or the, they've had a lot of different kid related activities down there. So I haven't ventured there, so, yeah. And what are other things that people would kind of look forward to, like, think of things that are weekly, monthly, and further out? I'm gonna pick on you, Bud. I know you, you have your men's group that meets. He has some great work buddies that they still get together and connect. How often do you do that?
Once a week.
Yep. So that kind of thing, men in particular have maybe struggle more to have some of
They
those
do.
social connections. So it's not the bar or the whatever, but I have another person that meets men for like a breakfast once a week in the morning. You get together at night, like, you know, trying to have some social connection that you look forward to. So you usually will find, and when we first did this, COVID is not really ever going to probably be gone, but we all restricted our activities so much, you know, but people are generally very positive to you initiating some kind of interaction. I think people have all kind of gotten not used to certain social things, so then people aren't calling or doing things, but if you initiate that, people are very receptive to it generally. That said, I will tell you in Parkinson's, that initiation is what I hear a lot is the problem. You know, we talk about going to a class or setting up a schedule can kind of help you because you may never feel like going, but how glad are you when you went? Is it usually always better? You know, you have to kind of push yourself out the door. It's that sort of low initiation and apathy.
It's very easy not to.
Yeah, not to go.
Not to go.
You have to have a commitment to it, like either a schedule or like people are expecting me to be there, you know. I had a lady take a painting class, but it was by Zoom, but like she would say to me in session, she'd be like, I haven't done my homework. Like she was like, had to, you know, you have an expectation to have a product the next time. So it kept her kind of honest on that, you know. What are things people are scheduling out further, like in a few months or so? Bigger things. What are you looking forward to?
Vacation.
What did you say?
Vacation,
Vacation? Do you have a vacation plan?
yeah,
Oh, that's good. When's that?
27.
Oh, this
Oh,
month. This month.
27?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're like taking all 4 grandkids on the train to Washington.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
That's gonna be a big experience. Yeah.
Spent 2 nights there.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully we'll survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Had to be well planning a lot of complications also, but not as far as 2027. So far I have to walk,
Mhm.
so we are doing a lot of travels, international travels.
Okay.
Doing as much as I can before.
It's too hard. Yeah.
It was too difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, and I talked with even my mom, we talked years ago about sort of what was her list of different things and then how accessible were they? And, you know, even we had been going on cruises, and our travel agent said, like, you can go to Alaska in a wheelchair, like that's a piece of cake, because that's set up for mobility issues, whereas, you know, I've had people go to Williamsburg and just struggle with the cobblestone streets and the parking being too far, and it's like, this city isn't quite set up for people with mobility issues, so you kind of have to look at what you're interested in, but then look at the amenities too.
Very interesting, you know why I'm traveling?
Uh-huh,
I don't feel I'm a patient.
yeah,
When I came back, oh, I'm a patient.
right, yeah, that mentality, yeah.
It's very different, it's
Yeah.
very different experience.
Mhm.
I'm thinking maybe when you're traveling to a different place, meet with different people, food is different,
Yeah, everything.
what you see is different.
Mhm.
And I think the body will help you produce more dopamine,
Yeah, well, it's
that's what I'm
a
thinking.
stimulant, yeah,
But when I came back, okay, that is back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
My wife pushes me a lot
Uh-huh,
with things, and we're going to Florida in February to play golf with 2 other couples.
uh-huh,
Then we're going to Vegas to watch my college roommate's son pitch for Pitt in Vegas at a tournament.
oh, wow,
We got Pat O'Brien coming to Magnolia Green to play. He's a musician. She spurs all of these things,
uh-huh,
which is great. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I'm hesitant at times to go
Mhm.
like to Vegas, because I don't know how I'm gonna feel, you know,
Right.
staying up late or anything like that, but
right,
she pushes me,
uh-huh.
which is good.
Yeah, and I think you have to kind of gauge that, you know, I just talked with a woman that I work with that has a lot of anxiety, and the therapist was saying, just book the cruise and just tell her the night before, and I said, well, I don't blow up to a complete panic attacks. I mean, I don't really want to be called that morning. Like, you have to look at your personality and nature, but I encourage people to do more of the, like, go for a night, go for 2 nights and a weekend, kind of keep going a little further, seeing how it works, see what doesn't work, what does. Some people find changing time zones really is tricky with the meds, you know, especially international. I know when I had to take meds, I was like, I've got to start taking this med at a time that I'll be up in the other country so that I keep it sane. So that was tricky, but you know, you may just find what things really work for you or where your limits are. But you know, it's better to kind of stepwise get your confidence back those things, you know? So do what you can and, yeah, but it's good to have a planner because it's hard to do all the planning. That's the initiation part. It's hard. What were you gonna say, Marie?
We keep going down in Texas.
Uh-huh.
See the solar eclipse.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh. When's that? Shows my ignorance of the solar eclipse, but whatever. Yeah, like,
April 28th.
okay, good. I'm like,
Over
yeah.
in Dallas area.
Uh-huh.
We just got back from Cancun.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh. That's great. Yeah, and when you take these trips and you're, out of your element, I mean, I think with your partner, you just have to talk about if you're having a bad day with meds, that you're gonna have to adjust what the plan was. In DC, you might just say, I can't walk around and do a million things, but I can meet you here, there, and there, but I'm gonna sit and have coffee and not quite, hit all the spots. But that's better than not going, you know what I mean? So it's, you don't have to push yourself so much that you might have a day where then you're incapacitated from the fatigue, but you also want to engage and sort of see what works for you. So, yeah. That's great. Well,
Definitely if the people you're going with know your limitations,
mhm,
it's a lot, it helps a lot.
yeah.
Like it was got a bunch of guys, like history, and we went up for like 3 days, we did,
Gettysburg, right?
Gettysburg,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's a place that really has accommodations for people that have wheelchairs or crutches, whatever. And the guys I went with, they said, okay, we know you can only do 3, 4, 5 hours of walking. So they chunked everything up in those times. And then we planned dinners around it, and I felt fine. They were glad that I could come, so everything worked out well.
Yeah.
As long as it,
Yeah.
when, as the people you go with know your limitations, it makes a lot different. At least to me it does.
I wonder if anybody's ever taken these bus trips, to go on like sunshine tours and things like that. Have you all done any of those? Because some of them are pretty interesting, but I don't know how they have accommodations for
Mhm.
people with handicaps.
I don't know, I grew up in Baltimore and we would take bus trips out to New York, for the day or whatever, and different things. The big thing is, there usually is a bathroom on the bus, but like, you probably want the handicap seating, but that may be all the way in the back of the bus, you know what I mean? So it's just logistics, yeah. There's, a thing that I'm interested in trying to get more information about. I forget who I talked to, but there are a lot of state parks and things that are increasing handicapped accessibility. And you can definitely search online for those so that you can go somewhere and know it's gonna be okay for you. Like I went to the High Bridge State Park, and like you could get out there in a wheelchair and go a good bit. You might not want to do quite as much as somebody else, but there's a lot of it that's accessible. And so that can be good to plan things. There's more new. I do encourage people to kind of have this idea that there's the analogy that you have a glass jar and you have rocks and sand. And if you put all the sand in and then you pile the rocks on top, you don't get many rocks in. But if you pile all the rocks in and put the sand around it, you get it all in, right? So it's not that Parkinson's isn't important, but you've got to kind of set when your doctor's appointments are, your exercise, or things you need. But you really have to put in the schedule that you want to see your grandchildren, or that you want to do whatever it is, and make that happen. I think if you live in a life that's sort of more reactive, you can just feel like you're going to the next appointment or the next thing, and then you just kind of keep managing that, and it's not fulfilling in terms of your living life, that feeling. So, yeah. But I would encourage you to think of things in the week, how you're enjoying that, what you're enjoying further out in the month that you're looking forward to, and then even further out from that. So that can be good to do. And you have to have some flexibility with symptoms or things changing. I've had people have to cancel a trip because of a fall and some injury that at the time just wasn't a good idea to put that much pressure on their walking or something. But usually with insurance, you can make plans and then change them if needed. So, yeah. The other thing that we started to briefly touch on last time, and we'll talk about that and then maybe take a little break, is that people find they're managing Parkinson's, but they're not really connecting in couples. Not all of us are in couples, but those of us that are may feel like they're living kind of parallel lives, but it's all about Parkinson's or managing the house and everything else, but they're not doing things together. And so talking about how to reconnect and not have that when you're caregiving more, you can feel less like the spouse and more like you're a caregiver, but the connection with the person is not what it was before the illness. And so that can be good to try to do things specifically to help keep having that connection. That can be as simple as watching shows together instead of being in separate rooms and kind of watching your own thing, but making time that you do something together, even if it's maybe not your favorite thing, but you compromise on that or whatever. Looking forward to date nights, like I've had people I work with that we plan like once a week that they're gonna go have us go out for dinner or have something more special that they do, so they have that to look forward to. You certainly can exercise or do other activities together. Some people do, some people don't. But, you know, kind of finding ways to connect, that you do things together and enjoy that. It's not medical, it's not just going to the doctor appointments and handling the crises. So. Can people share some things that they've done together that have helped them?
I do want to share one thing. As a patient, we want to give more attention to our caregiver. The reason is I went to that memoir writing. Actually, one student, she started writing because her husband was a Parkinson, slow progression Parkinson's patient. And wherever they went, wherever they go, it's all about that patient.
Yeah.
So she was like invisible. She was like invisible. So that caused her, you know, mental health issues. And then she started one day, she get out of pain, started writing.
Yeah, about her experience.
And about her experience and her feeling, you know, that gave me a different perspective, how I treat my life.
And wondering, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge, because when you come into a doctor's office, you're the identified patient. We always like in our clinic to involve family and particularly the care person that's primary. And we ask things of them, but there's not nearly enough time for that person for their own reaction. It's just more information, you know, about what's going on or how the meds are going or whatever it is. So I deal a lot as a psychologist with caregivers, just with therapy, but also just adjusting to all this. You have both sides of that coin. You have the person adjusting that they can't do some things that they had planned to do, or how they functioned in the family unit, like maybe managing finances or something else. And then you have the caregiver suddenly being this role, but almost like a working role, but they're not the spouse, wife, and, you know, there's less of that and their feelings aren't necessarily focused on. So yeah, there is a lot that we do, I try to do for caregivers, but that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, but it's very important. You know, and I think it's important to try to connect as a couple, that it's not just about patient being taken care of and that dyad, so that you still have that intimacy together of the connection between you, you know. Were there other people's comments?
My wife and I cook a lot, but I have such a tremor freezing of gate that my wife has to get off the ingredients and I do.
So she kind of helps set up.
Oh,
so-
she tolerates too.
Yeah, yeah,
But we also
you're a good cook. I know you're a good cook.
we also walk together every morning. She
So
does about 3 miles. And I do a mile.
that's something where you could start together and then you might turn back, but the other person could keep going. Yeah, some quiet time together. You showed me, Paul, a video of you in the kitchen. He has this cupboard and it was awful to watch. Do you remember that one? Where you had, a lot of people have trouble turning. Like, as you get in that smaller space of the pantry, it's like watching somebody, it's like trying to turn and trying to get out of there is just torture, you know? So, yeah, there's things that you just, it'd be better if she does that and handles that. Yeah.
In a time sense,
Mhm.
You know, otherwise we'd be nine o'clock.
Maybe in the morning, right, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and you can pick and choose those things, like, I tell people you wanna stay active and engaged, but if something's taking you hours, it stops being kind of a healthy activity, it's better to delegate that to the other person. But then something else you may be able to do quite well, you know what I mean, so. Or split how you do it, you know, like prepping the food a certain way. Gardening is often something people say is hard, but maybe doing container gardens or changing exactly how you do that, so. Are there other things that people have found that connected them as a couple to help broach that?
We joined a book club,
Uh-huh,
but we listened to the books on the couple.
oh yeah, that's nice.
Just go in the den, don't have the lights on, have a glass of wine and listen to the book.
Yeah, but it's like a thing you do together and then
Yeah.
you can talk about it and, yeah, and that's great. Yeah, it's really making time for that, you know what I mean, intentionally, so.
Well, we thought playing golf together was gonna be a good idea, and it was, so she started beating me.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, okay,
It's frustrating.
yeah, now you're like, wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We still have fun though.
Yeah, yeah. And it can be, you know, I work with somebody that has shared with me, they get up at very different times, so I'm like, what about at night making her coffee and putting it in the thing so it's all set up so that it starts for her, she knows you were thinking of her. You know, sometimes those, they were thinking of me means a million, you know, to a caregiver versus something else. So I mean, there can be small ways to kind of put that out there and make that part of your life. It is, time always goes by quickly, but I am watching my time. It's almost 2:45, but we wanted to have some time to stretch and get to visit with everybody who's here and also just mingle together. You all have been great about bringing up things. So if you want to chit chat, that's fine too. And maybe get back here at, I think 3 or.
Yeah, 5 till maybe?
Yeah, okay.
You guys about 12 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
just get up and stretch. Appointments and things like that, but you can use a calendar for a lot more. But planning your week, this can be kind of how you start to look at, am I doing the things that help me feel good? Or is it too infrequent? With Parkinson's, just a little education, there can be visual spatial changes where processing that month calendar that we all have in our kitchen can just be too hard to navigate through. And so I encourage people, if that's a problem, to break it down so that maybe the caregiver has the big calendar, but there's a week view or something that is what people are working with that day. And that should be out where you can look at it multiple times a day. We know people who look at their calendar and keep reminding themselves of what's going on, do better at getting things done. Whether that's the education, exercise class or something else they need to do, that keeps them on track. So that's actually a good thing. But I do think that could be a good way to kind of see what is it that I need to add more into my schedule and what do I need to prioritize? So the other thing that got brought up, and it's an interesting question. So, you know, caregivers, we talk, it's often the spouse. Sometimes it's the child, adult child, and then sometimes people have family units where they live together with children or other people. So it might not be necessarily a spouse. I know in 2 weeks, I'm having my mom move in with me. She has her own kind of, look at your eyes. He's like, yeah, you're like, what? I know, like, yeah, what have I done this week? I put together the bed frame that 2 people were supposed to do, but I did it alone because I was like, this should be fine, right? I should just be able to whip this around. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I had my neighbor help me bring the recliner in from my car. It was just continually riding around with me because I couldn't get out of the car. And, you know, it's an exciting time. I'm like, why did we plan to move during Christmas? I don't know what we were thinking of, right? We had this magical thought that she'd retire January 3rd. I'm not sure why. I honestly can't answer that question, but we're talking about the roles and, you know, I'm helping her with her medical appointment and finances, but then, you know, you're the daughter, the caregiver, and like you were saying, Tom, like, you know, trying to still appreciate the person for themselves and as that person, do you know what I mean? Not doing these things that have to be done, the logistics, the nuts and bolts. Yeah. And then another lady, what was your name? Lynn, nice to meet you. She brought up, she lives with her 2 adult sons. And before you say, roll your eyes, they have some Asperger-like disabilities, so it makes sense, but it's a different dynamic in terms of who will handle what, and as her needs change, kind of what help she needs from them, and then how is that all gonna get handled? You know, life happens whether or not we talk about what's happening or not. But one thing, I don't have a ton of resources for that, but I've brought up with people, I encourage people to try what's called a State of the Union meeting. And it's on the Gottman Institute website. Gottman Institute does a lot of resources for couples and relationships, but you can easily tweak this to a mother-daughter, a mother and 2 sons, roommates, whatever. You just change the language a bit. But that is a structured kind of way. And I think we kind of naturally do this a little bit, but it's usually just the Sunday night, what's happening this week? Like, when's the garbage going out and when is this happening and who's getting the groceries? We have no milk, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But in this Gottman Institute State of the Union meeting is also what went really well this week, what didn't go so well, what would we like to work on? It talks about how could I feel more loved, if you want to focus on that, how can I be more appreciated, like what kinds of things are going on and what they mean to each other. So it's fascinating working with couples, and I often do that. We all have 1 or 2 love languages that we use the most. Have people heard of love languages? Yeah, so it was funny, I was with a couple recently, and you know, she wanted quality time and I forget whatever else, and he liked acts of service and something else. It was like, they were like, oh, this is why we've never really had this working out in our relationship. I'm like, yeah, you're not even close. It's nice if you share one, but I mean, you're kind of missing it. So I may not be able to call them off my head real quick if someone's fast on their phone, but there's acts of service. That's, you know, I get the groceries, I get the milk or whatever, make dinner, do laundry. Then there's quality time. So that's what you're talking about, like, who was saying you do the book club. I think that's quality time. It's a nice cognitive piece too, but quality time. Gift giving, I don't know what they call it, but some people are like, they give you little gifts, right? They like to do that.
Physical touch.
Physical touch, thank you. Physical touch is one.
Words of affirmation.
Words, thank you. I'm like, somebody help me here. Come to thank you. You're great. Google. Words of affirmation. So it's interesting, like someone might be where they tell you, you know, you're doing great, you look good, whatever it is, and then somebody else doesn't do that at all, you know, and just doesn't have that in their skill set. It's interesting in my own family, you know, my mom and I were both big huggers, but the other day, she was just sitting there, but I just put my hand on her shoulder, and it felt kind of funny to do that, but I was also like, it's that I'm here and we're okay. Yeah, there's a bed frame and there's all kinds of stuff going on right now, but we're there. You know, so you want to talk about maybe in that State of the Union meeting, what are your go-tos, and then what do you maybe want more of? And even if someone isn't naturally comfortable with that, you know, if they're told you want quality time, you can try to start to see that that's the thing that you can give them and how to do that. And it means more to them. I will tell you as a caregiver, she's learned how to make my morning tea. I'm not a morning person. I've told people I really shouldn't talk to anyone until I've finished the first cup of tea. I'm like, I have this look on my face and it's not pleasant and I don't want to talk to anybody. But she's learned how to make my tea and, for her to have that and hand it to me is just such a nice gesture. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind running around. She, falls due to another issue, not Parkinson's, but like she has fallen on the stairs. We worked it so that she's gonna be on the first floor and we're modifying that, but like she can't carry her glasses and then bring them to the kitchen, it's just too many things. And I'm like, just leave the glasses. I don't mind picking them up and taking them to the kitchen. It's nothing to me. You know what I mean? Not a big deal, but just talking about those things so that it can be that it works well for both people, so, yeah. But I think I don't have like an immediate resource for your question. Lynn was asking about like, how do we talk about these changes? Like what they need to do for you versus what they're doing for themselves. But I think that kind of meeting will start to talk about what are our fears of those things, or what does that look like, and how do we, keep our eye on that at some point. So, yeah. Many families have had the, who's driving and all the logistics for the week, but you could kind of add to that and kind of put more of this emotional piece to it to flesh out that system. And that gives you a format of how to do it. Any other things that people can think of about kind of connecting more with caregivers, or things they want to do more with couples, friends, whomever? Anything else that comes to mind?
I think it's important to keep your friends, close and after you've been diagnosed. Still, if you have a group that you have dinner with and stuff, take turns and stuff. Sometimes, I've heard of people that have just stopped doing all those things.
Yeah.
To keep your social, groups together.
Yeah.
Very well.
And I've heard people tell me, there's some stigma with Parkinson's. So there's stigma with aging. I read a lot of things about ageism, but just looking a little older, walking a little slower, whatever that is that you maybe pick up on. I haven't run into that a lot, but I have to say one time I was at dinner with my mom and I noticed the waiter did not make any eye contact with her. And it was almost like she wasn't there. And I was kind of like, she's the one tipping you, so you should really look at her, not me. But, there is this societal thing about that. And so people have told me they feel very self-conscious about their movements or their walking, needing a cane or something else, a rollator. And sometimes people kind of opt out of things instead of trying to get over that anxiety and just uncomfortableness and keep going. I think hopefully you have friends, the kind of friends that aren't not wanting to do anything with you because of that. If they do, then you kind of need to get some new friends anyway.
They're not true friends.
Yeah, get some good ones.
Well, find out who they are when you get Parkinson's. Put it that way.
If they fall away, then that might be told you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to do that, and you might need a little bit of a push. A lady was talking to me earlier that she needed a little push to get going and make herself do those things. So I think some people are a little more introverted. Susan is not introverted, so easy for her to do that. But if you are a little more introverted, you may have to work a little harder at that. But it's really important to do that. And I think the PD group activities, the Power Over Parkinson's, the Rock City Boxing, the different exercise classes, then you're walking into a format where you don't really have to worry about how you are because people are in every capacity and every symptom. So hopefully it feels a little safer. But
I said yes.
yeah, hopefully, yeah. And if you're not the most social, it's an easy way to get in, because you don't have to try very hard, you just stand there and Bob Scudder isn't here, but he'll talk to you. He'll talk to anybody, so, you'll be fine. Just tell people, just go talk to Bob. He'll make you feel comfortable, but, then when you go to something outside of the Parkinson's community, that can help broaden your horizons, but you may have to get over that feeling of uncomfortableness or what your needs are, so.
Sometimes it's a struggle right now. I'm
Mhm.
toying with an idea. I've been invited to this not leadership, a church group,
Uh-huh,
a retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, a retreat, it's men's retreat. And I only know one man, and it's gonna be like 300 people there.
Hmm.
And I have no idea what it's gonna all be about.
right,
And I'm still haven't decided whether I'm gonna do it or not. And it's in about 5 weeks, but knowing that I have limitations, mainly like sleeping, I may sleep through half the class. And, stuff like that, and this is the first time I've had that hurdle.
Mhm.
And normally other times I've been able to.
well, and I think it might be good to ask some questions. We talked about like the planning a trip, like the cobblestone streets, handicapped access, that kind of stuff, but logistics, but also like, if I come and I need to opt out or I'm not available certain times, is that
That's what I'm trying to find out.
is a big problem, or is that like you come as you go and nobody really knows? And just to have that expectation clear, you know what I mean?
To say, my dad has Parkinson's. And so I've been working with him and trying to get him into a good spot. But so many of the things that I think we talk about here are not just Parkinson's related. So it was interesting when he started talking about the retreat, that most people, regardless of their physical condition, are going to feel really apprehensive about walking into a retreat. I gotta bare my soul, I gotta confess all my sins. In front of the 300 people that
I
you
know
never
about
met.
that.
Be here all day. I'm gonna bless you for that.
Well, this retreat is Catholic, so I'm all
There
right.
you go. But so I think so many times, again, going back to everything in our lives now revolves around Parkinson's. It's all about Parkinson's. There's nothing, it's the treatment of, it's the avoidance of, it's the this, it's the this, it's the this. This isn't a Parkinson's thing. This is like the fact of not being able to go on a trip. That's not a Parkinson's thing. There's so many people. I'm a travel advisor. So I know there's so many people that don't want to travel or have a fear. Is it because of Parkinson's? I don't know. It's not just Parkinson. So if there's a way to get it in the psyche to try to go for it, man, go for it. Because you're not there alone. Somebody else is feeling the same way that you are. They don't have Parkinson's. They might have something else.
Right.
So go for it. That's all I got to say.
You won't be the only Parkinson's person there.
Well,
Yeah.
I usually have everybody that knows me know I have my 3-wheeler. I don't have it today.
But you're gonna see a broomstick.
So anyway, when I started using that, I felt like people were, looking at me and looking at, I was a weak person and what are you using that for? And I had to get my attitude changed, and just say, the hell with them. I'm just doing what I need to do, and just push on and who cares what they think? It's my life. And, not get hung up on other people. Or,
Potential reaction.
Yeah. But I do notice that, a lot of older people, especially women, will kind of come up to me and if they're perfectly walking, it's great and everything. They'll come up when I got my roller and they'll just kind of look at me like, oh, you're just, you get the impression that they're eyeing you up and down. You can really get caught up in that. if you let yourself. But I think, just doing what you have to do to make your life better.
They could also be eyeing you for reasons that you're not
Aware of.
aware of.
Yeah.
Like they may see a barrier coming up and wonder if you might need assistance, but they don't, people, if they don't know you, aren't eager to just assume. And they don't want to offend you, so it could be that as well.
It could be.
I hope it is.
I think part of it is we're more self-aware of our condition,
Than other
and
people.
most people aren't really noticing. I just broke my hip
Yeah,
in
sure.
August, and was on crutches for 3 months. And part of it was good because people opened the door for me, or they come out there, and wow, I said, maybe I ought to hold them in the reserve when I. Anyway, I think we're more self-aware than
Yeah.
what a lot of
I think
people
you're
look
right.
at.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
One of the things I've found when I'm looking at new situations, whether I can get involved in something, is not to look what I can't do, but tap on my ability and say, what can I contribute? And I'll go to somebody and say, hey, I can't run around all over there, but I can sit for a long time. Need somebody to sit there and registry. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot better when you look at it.
yeah, your ability. Yeah, I always tell people when.
You go lifetime. Oh.
Yes, yeah, it'd be better to try and then say, look, this, I gotta opt out, than to never try. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's sort of that perspective of. Give it a go, and you can do things to learn, like I said, try things overnight, few nights, kind of see how you do with progressively more travel or whatever it is. To help you know what pitfalls to avoid, but, you know, once you learn what helps you, that can be instrumental. I do share with a lot of people with anxiety that people's internal mentation has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? People are anxious walking into a room, and I'm like, people are scowling because they have to go to the bathroom, they're late, they have gas, whatever. They're not even looking at you. Like, I mean, practically do whatever. One time, I don't like the sight of blood, and I was doing my training, but I was in a, I don't know what you call it. It was the room where they were paddling a man, so that was enough for me to be out of the room, but I left the room and I laid down in the hall of the hospital. I just laid down, I was like, I'm gonna pass out, I'm laying down. You walk by me, I mean, you lay down somewhere. Eventually, two cleaning ladies were like, you doing all right? I'm like, I'm great right now. So I mean, your behavior, believe me, people are not paying attention to you, or they don't know what to do with it, you know what I mean? But, yeah, but I mean, it's better to keep doing what you need to do what helps you. Don't worry about other people's reaction, and just explain it to them when they ask.
Sarah,
Yeah,
I would like to, my wife and I have a concept,
oh, yeah,
and I refuse to use the word crime.
yeah, I know.
Except the concept of walking liability.
I'm sure they're terrified of you all there.
My wife will turn around when I freeze and look at me, and I'm going, oh.
Yeah.
And people come up, you know, look at her like, why don't you help that for me?
And if you tell Paul, his symptoms go out the wall.
You know me, I just like to pull my way through.
I know.
If I fall, you know, I spent many years downhill skiing, so I know how to fall.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate.
but yeah, and you know what you need, so if you just need time, or if you just need space, you don't have people kind of hovercrafting, so, yeah. But I'm sure the Costco people, I went in there like before the end of November, and then was like, I'm done there until the new year, like, I don't go back, it's like, way too many people, yeah.
Well, I enjoy the challenges, like, you know, like making myself push through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just see how many people you can, yeah. Cut around and what kind of, yeah.
Yeah, just don't give up.
Yeah,
Well, you need to adapt to what you can do, you know, like. we used to hike up in the mountains all the time, and I can't do that anymore. So now, when I went up with my grandsons and my husband and I, and they went hiking and I went to basket weaving. But seriously, this guy was making baskets for Obama up at the Shenandoah. And he's real talented. Yeah. How he made baskets, but I thought to myself, basket weaving 101.
Uh-huh.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
I adapt to things that I used to do. I have to adjust, you know. And I don't stop doing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Still different.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of adjustment and adaptation, but keep trying, you know, I would encourage you, Alex just stepped out, I think, but, I worked with his father when he was living, but he had to make a decision about going to, Disneyland, you know, and he was very concerned about going with the grandchildren and whatnot, and I was like, Disneyland's great, like, you can get in a wheelchair and people will push you and, you know, but he went and had a wonderful time. Of course, sometimes he couldn't walk or do things, but he was so glad he went. And, you know, I think finding how you can participate, being okay with how you can't, just letting people know. People won't know unless you tell them, you know, if you tell them I need to sit down every hour or whatever it is. Another thing, when you brought your comment up, Bud, I had a man that had gone, I don't remember who that was. It's a great thing about being a psychologist. I can't identify anyone's story, so I'm like immune from police inquiry. But they all had roomed together in bunk beds, but the person had REM sleep behavior disorder, and this was discovered. But you know, so now he knows that. So it's like he needs his own room, he needs this, whatever, and you figure that out and go forward. You don't just say I don't go anymore, you know. So, yeah, all very good points. I hope you got some ideas of things to try and to keep you doing different things, but also looking at your schedule and then seeing what you need different, you know. I know in my own work, like, had kind of 2 months of things being a certain way and just saying I need to make a change and shift that, and paying attention to that so that you actually do have things you're looking forward to and you're fitting in, like the sand we talked about, fitting in the big rocks of things that are important to you. And then your doctor visits, your exercise and other things that are very important, but they're happening, but they're just scheduled, you know, you're getting out to do other things. So.
You know, you mentioned that the crutches made me think. My wife and I went to Spain this year, summer, and she said, I think you ought to take a cane. I said, okay, so I did that. She didn't think I would take it. So I took the cane. Man, let me tell you, you walk with a cane, you get at the front of the line.
Yeah.
Stand there, somebody will carry your luggage. So I said, this is a great idea. And the guys I go out with once a week, I said, time you travel.
Bring your cane. And when you go to transport, little parts of road.
You have a whole nother, you bump your car. Yes, use it, whatever to your advantage, absolutely.
Like a
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah. That's true. Well, it was great to get everybody talking so much and sharing. It's a little after 3:30. So Margaret, do you have any final words?
I don't have any wise words like Dr. Lageman did, but I just want to thank everyone for attending. I hope you all got something out of it and something more from the first session if you attended that one. We can't thank you enough for attending these events, and we hope that they're impactful for you all. Visit our website for, kind of all the services and support that we do offer as an organization, and we look forward to doing more next year. Most notably, we're going to be doing a care partner support group beginning in January in conjunction with the APDA. So that's something to look out for in our newsletters. I joke that I know the newsletters are long and you've got to scroll, but scroll. There's great content, including things that VCU's doing, research opportunities, lots of good content. So if you're not on our mailing list, jump on that via our website, but always feel free to reach out. We can't thank you all enough. And we can't thank Dr. Sarah Lageman enough for being our facilitator for a second time in a row. We appreciate your time. And happy holidays, right?
Good to see you all.